Hey, you guys, Pastor Zach with our fifth message in John 15. We're wrapping it up here today. I am excited. We've been in John chapter 15 for the past 5 days, talking about abiding. And today we'll actually get to talk about what it means to abide a little bit. Um, there's a lot to unpack here, but I want to briefly give some of my research that I discovered going into this. So really quick, we're picking up in verses 1, 2, and 3 today, then we'll conclude with verse 4. Jesus says, again, I am the true vine, my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth fruit, he taketh away. Every branch that beareth fruit, he purges, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean because of the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. And I know there are better translations of this passage. I just like the way it kind of reads here. And I did a bit of a word study on verses 2 and 3. There are three verbs I'd like to focus on very quickly. He takes away, prunes or purges, and the word clean. These are interesting translations. And one thing that I did not know last week is that the Greek word for takes away is ere, coming from the word aero, meaning to cut off or destroy. And then the word prune is katha ere, or comes from also the Greek word aero, except it means to prune or cleanse. It's different. And what's interesting is both of those are present active indicatives, meaning it's something that's presently happening in real time. It's something that God is actively doing. Um, so here's my translation of the passage. In seminary, we were encouraged to write our own translations. Basically, it's saying every branch in me that is not currently bearing fruit, God is taking away. And every branch that is bearing fruit, God is cleansing, that it may bear even more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word I've spoken to you. Now, there are some significant observations from this. First of all, this is something that's happening in real time, meaning we are either being currently cut off from God by God or being, made more like God by God. One of the two is happening. We're either bearing more fruit, becoming more like Him, or being separated from Him, being pulled away. There is no in between. But what really stands out to me from this scripture is where Jesus says, you are already clean, katharoi, the adjective, because of what I have spoken to you. But I was like, wait a minute. In verse 2, you just said we are currently being cleansed to bear more fruit. So which is it? How can we be considered cleansed by God and yet still be in the process of being cleansed by Him? It's a fascinating conundrum. We're both already clean and yet still being made more clean. It's like Mr. Clean. How clean can you be? Well, John 13, verse 10 gives us a little bit of insight in this. During the Last Supper, Jesus says to his disciples, the one who is bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but they are completely clean, katharos. And you are clean, katharoi, but not every one of you. So it's like, wait. So, what is Jesus saying here? He says the one who is bathed does not need a wash, meaning what? The disciples have all been baptized. They have all been ceremonially, they are cleansed. That's what katharos is. It's kind of a ceremonial cleansing, meaning they've all been baptized. They're all cleansed in Him. However, in regards to Peter's statement of wash all of me, Jesus is saying, no, not all of you, just your feet. Those are the only things that need to be cleaned, because the rest of you is completely clean, but yet not every one of you. So it's like, we know that Judas was baptized. He was one of the 12. He was baptized, gave his life to Jesus, but yet he was not clean. So he was cleansed, but not clean. And yet there's disciples who are cleansed and yet still being cleaned. It's fascinating. It's just like it's possible to be in Him, but not really in Him, or in Him, but you're, growing more like Him or being cut off from Him. It's really fascinating contrasts here. So what is Jesus saying? In summary, I think Jesus is saying this. Well, I know Jesus is saying this. Salvation is not a one-time event. It's all consuming. It's a daily experience. Salvation is a daily experience for those of us who are being saved. Scripture says we go from faith to faith, from glory to glory. It is a continual process that is taking place in your life and in my life. And because of that, we're daily being cleansed, meaning we're daily being made more like him. So what's the secret? Scripture says, how do we maintain this? How do we keep this? Well, in verse 4, Jesus says, you have to abide in me, and I in you. A branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, and neither can you unless you abide in me. And that again is a present active, meaning it's something that has to take place, and it's something that's happening right now. I love this passage. There is an extension to this verse in James that I'm not going to go into really, but in James verses 2-3, it says, let challenges and trials have its perfect work, to produce within us steadfastness or patience. And by patience, or that steadfastness, scripture says we are being made perfect. And the Greek word for patience or steadfastness is the word upomeno. So abide is meno, and endurance is upomeno. It's a super abiding or a hyper abiding. I mean, it's something that we continually do. So what I find interesting is that James is arguing in James chapter 1 that just because we're a Christian, we give our life to him, does not mean we are not going to encounter temptation, does not mean we're not going to encounter trials. It doesn't even mean we're not going to fall. But what perfects us, what cleanses us, what reproduces Christ's images in us is the ability to endure, to remain, to abide, hyper abide in Jesus, to go the distance with him is what's ultimately going to make us more like him. Now, to tie a bow on this, I got to share one last scripture. You can tell this is one of my favorite messages to preach on. It's Proverbs 24, verse 16. And it says, for a just man falls 7 times, but he rises again. However, it's the fool or the wicked that falls into mischief. Now, I love this passage because it talks about how the righteous or the just man falls. What makes a righteous man or a just man righteous or just is not that they never fall, it's that they get back up. However, it says the wicked falls into mischief. So it's really interesting. Both the righteous or the just man and the wicked fall. But the difference between the two is one gets back up. What I love about the Hebrew for verse 16 is that the word for fall, the way the righteous man falls and the way the wicked man falls, are actually 2 different types of falling. They're 2 entirely different Hebrew words. The first insinuates a complete stumbling or a setback. It's a setback, but he gets back up and continues going. But the second is the word for stumble or staggering. It's this continual walking in this. It's this. You get this idea that they're constantly tripping and stumbling and falling over themselves, never really rising, but constantly falling. I don't know if you've ever seen those cartoons where someone's like, gets caught in oil and they're kind of running in place. You kind of get this idea that they're moving and they're going and they're going, and they're not really falling, but they're also not really progressing. It's basically saying the fool is like that. They're just in a constant state of stumbling. However, even though the righteous fall, they get back up and keep going. So I want to encourage you today with today's message. Even if you struggle, the secret to the Christian life, the secret to abiding, it just means you keep on going. You remain with Jesus even if you're struggling. As one of my favorite speakers, David Asterick, says, a struggling Christian is still a Christian. So just keep going. Be blessed.